Hello, everyone. Uh, Thank you to all of you for having given your time today for this spiritual meeting. This is our first general meeting for 2026. So the topic that was given by the sage for this spiritual get together is rituals and spiritual practice. You see, it is, very touching actually, first of all, to look at what is actually not a ritual, right? And in my view, you see, and actually, which is the truth is that you see that which is the source of all rituals, that alone is actually not a ritual, and that is none other than our own true nature of consciousness. Consciousness itself is not an image, consciousness itself is not a ritual, and consciousness is the source of all rituals. And when we define actually ritual, basically, you see, the very basic definition of ritual is that which repeats itself in whatever way it may actually repeat. Isn't that actually a ritual? One may think that you might go to Haridwar or Varanasi or any holy river and take a bath. That is a ritual. You may think that every day, like in the Hindu culture, you see there are these different gods. So Sunday is nominated to Shri Ganesh and to the sun. Monday is nominated to the moon and Lord Shiva, and so on it goes on, right? So every morning, you see, we get up, you go to your temple at home and you light the incense and you say some prayers like, some, read this Hanuman Chalisa. You see Lord Hanuman on Tuesdays. That is actually a ritual. But you see, isn't having breakfast every morning also a ritual? You know, isn't having lunch every afternoon again a ritual? So basically, whatever actually you are doing repetitively is nothing other than basically what you may call as a ritual, right? Look at it actually very carefully. Every morning we get up, we say some prayers. The prayers as a ritual because they are repeated. you know every morning you get up, you do toothpaste or you take a bath. Isn't that also actually a ritual? So looking at it from this perspective, the two biggest rituals that a human being is constantly performing is one, the cycle of reincarnation, and that is mimicked in our 24 hours day night cycle. Look at it. You see, it has been 14 million years since the split happened, and came that reality itself has become or come as the male or the female. Now, you can actually calculate that there are approximately about 1350 to 1400 lives that every human being has actually gone through. What do? You take on a physical form, you lead a life here, and then you disappear, right? Not many actually know where they disappear and what they do, which we have discussed in many previous, spiritual talks. And then what happens? You see, you forget which country you were in, which city you were in, what physical form actually did you take, what were your feelings, what were your thoughts, where you were in that previous life. Forgetting everything, you repeat the ritual, and you are actually, born in another body, in another place, to continue with what you call as your residual karma, right? And there's actually very interesting thing, you see the people who are there actually around you, including the people who are actually attending and listening to this satsang. So if so many lives have gone, then in how many different forms and in how many different ways and in how many different relationships have we met and are continuing to meet again and again and again, right? So if this is not the highest ritual that you perform, then what is, right? Look at your day night cycle. You see, this is now the awake state. Okay, everyone wakes up when the sun rises, doesn't matter in which country you are in. Then when it comes to about 9:30, 10 o'clock in the evening, you go into what we call as the dream state, right? Now what happens after the dream state? You fall into deep sleep, and then the ritual continues again. You wake up in the morning. Look at it actually very carefully. See how nature has actually constructed all these things. The awake state is basically symbolic and a representative of your current life, isn't it? Because only when you are awake, all your five bodily senses are active. The rational faculties of thinking, intellect come into play. So that actually reflects your current incarnation. It's a reflection of that. But then actually what happens, you see, that same person drifts away into another world, the intermediate world, you see, which is basically you disappear somewhere after your actual physical death and then you reappear. And then that we can say is basically the dream cycle, right? The state of dreams. So after awake, when you go into dreams, it is like now slowly you are actually leaving your present incarnation and going away somewhere, right? And what happens? You see, deep sleep is the symbolic representative of this physical death, because in deep sleep none of what this present incarnation is basically you are aware of until you wake up again. So awake, dream, sleep, every 24 hours you are repeating that actual ritual. And then every incarnation, the cycle of reincarnation, birth, death, and rebirth, that is then repeated at a bigger cycle. So you really actually have to understand the title which was given by Sage Ramana, Rituals and Spiritual Practice. Right. Now, can we say that is this spiritual practice also a ritual? Yes. You see, all spiritual practices are basically ritualistic in nature. You may undertake japa. You might listen to, you may chant a particular, symbol, om. You might actually undertake meditation. Nowadays there is a fashion changing gurus. Moving from one guru to the next guru, searching actually for the truth. So but in this, what you've got to look at is that whatever you may be doing externally, you know, uh, this spiritual practice in the end has to be taken up, and you see, the spiritual practice is always only taken up by the individual. You follow? So somewhere then actually you realize that all these great sages like Sage Ramana, Rishi Master Byansa Duno, Shankaracharya, Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Yog Vashisht, Jesus, Ved Vyas, so on, right? So many, Gautam Buddha, Lahari Mashe. You see, then actually in your spiritual practice, you realize that there must be something separating this ritualistic practice of either reincarnation or the day night cycle or whatever you are doing at the physical level in your day to day life. There must be a point of separation which actually leads to that which is not a ritual, right? And that is where you start touching your higher nature, you see, and that is where the ritual, so-called the ritualistic practices, drift into what we call as pure spiritual practice. And it starts with basically what we call as witnessing. being that silent observer, that you are actually not this physical body, you're not actually all these activities, you are that which is conscious of all these rituals. And then that practice leads deeper into that understanding that you're actually that consciousness, your real nature. You're actually the space in which all these things are coming and going. Look at it even now when you look at the view, this view is generated by your higher nature. The view is actually in front of you. Everybody, and including yourself, are sitting in this view and undertaking all these activities. So this is basically how we join rituals and spiritual practice. So I think that's enough of a summary or a gist, to at least, sow some seeds or awaken something within you, to realize where you have got to head towards, or it's up to you, continue with the rituals if you like. So anyway, thank you for listening. With that, I will give it to Vijay ji to cover, this topic in detail. Vijay ji?
Namaste, Anilji. Hari Om, everyone. We'll just start with an Om. Om. The topic that has been chosen, and Anilji has given a brief on rituals and spiritual practice. Uh, Rituals, from the time a human is born, all of us, since birth, once we are born, we start off and we start getting conditioned in society. And everything that we do leads to some sort of a repetition of things that we do as part of something that we like or something that has been told to us. And as we go along, say for example, just when a kid is born having milk, and when the milk is given, it becomes like a habit. It's a ritual. You have it every day, from once in the morning, once in the evening. It's a ritualistic thing. It just keeps on happening again and again. A ritual, from uh, the perspective of the word itself, has a connotation that is linked with religious ritual. But the word ritual can also be connected to um, a habit forming ritual. And through life, we go through all these habits and with these rituals of doing this or doing that, and we keep repeating that again and again. Every day I have to go and do this. Every day, 5 times a day, I have to do this, or 10 times a day, I've got to do this. I've got to eat my breakfast in the morning. I've got to have my lunch in the afternoon at lunchtime, my tea in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, my dinner or supper, or whatever you call it, in the evening, and then go to bed at night because you feel sleepy. That's a forced ritual. You don't have a choice. You feel sleepy, you go to sleep. So it's a ritualistic 24-hour repetition through the day. And through the day, through our lives, we go through all these ritualistic practices. Now, this is based on the fact that we are doing it as an individual because we are a form ourselves. We've got a name and we've got a form. And because of the name and the form, that ritualistic nature is forms part of this name and form as a doer. And we keep doing these things as a ritual because we are considering ourselves as this limited. And this ritualistic things, their practices go on through life from a secular, worldly perspective. and it continues on throughout life. For some people, it goes on till the body falls off. But then some people go through life and then they realize that there must be something more to life than just, you know, doing, eating, drinking, sleeping, procreating, and that's it, and the body falls off. There must be something more to this than that. And when that quest, that urge arises in some people, that money and making money and serving somebody else's interest through work, and then getting the money to feed ourselves and family and others is not enough, we go through the stage where the need to know something higher arises within the mind. When this happens, the ritualistic nature of that same process which we've been following through is recommended in our lives as a practice of spiritual practice through a form. Because an individual whose mind is conditioned with seeing only images everywhere can associate itself very easily with an image. And that is why an idol worship comes into play. Many, many, many years ago, centuries ago, eons ago, the practices of worshipping images was not there. It was the worship of nature. They used to worship all the elements in nature. They used to worship the sun. They used to worship the stars. They used to worship the fire. They used to worship air. They used to worship. So they used to worship all these elements in nature. There came a time when those practices slowly faded off, and the practices came or started moving towards forms. And then, because the identification was easier with a form, so whatever you liked, you created a form out of that, and then you would worship that particular form. That worship is still continuing till date in the form of any practice. You go anywhere, you will see this. People say, no, we don't have worship, but everyone does in one way or the other. Some symbol. It's symbolic, but it is there. Humans worship there in India. It's a common practice of worshipping the parents. In the Western countries, we don't have that practice where people actually um, uh, say the do the regular worship of their parents. They do it in a slightly different manner. They care for their parents. They go and hug them. They say, all kinds of different things. Whereas in India, the practice is to go and touch their feet. It's a different ritualistic practice. So these are the forms that take shape. And when the parents pass away or the guru passes away, what you do is you hang a picture of that. And that picture, that photo becomes a representation of that person. The photo in itself doesn't have any value as such, but it is the feeling in the mind of that individual, that form, which creates that love, that connection. with that particular photo, and one worships it. In India, they do arti to it, and they show you know the flame to it, and uh, incense sticks and all that kind of stuff. So they do the worship. So that's also a ritual. But then, as one grows into further spiritual practices, it goes to a, a form of a god. Then you have forms that are there of various gods that you can have, and worship is done to those idols, and they are called murtis. And the worship to those murtis are done with devotion, love in the heart, though it's made of stone or clay or whatever it may be. One sees that God in that idol, in that murti. And that is the most important thing. And that becomes a form of spiritual practice to start off with. So it becomes um, the initial stages of spiritual growth when one does idol worship and spiritual practices. From the idols, one then s- starts doing japa. Japa is repetition of a mantra or a sacred syllable or sacred mantra or sacred set of words. And that can be used as a repetitive process for only one and one purpose only. That it is the love is there in that when it is being done. At the same time, when japa is repeated again and again and again, all other all other conflicting thoughts that seem to penetrate the mind when the mind is not concentrated tend to get dispersed away when one is doing the japa with conviction, with devotion, and with love. And the mind becomes one pointed. And that is the purpose of japa yoga. In itself, it's a complete yoga, but then one has to reach the highest point where the mind thins out to an extent where the mind gets transcended. Many have reached that stage through japa yoga itself, but most don't, because you see a lot of people using the japa mala and then they keep doing repeating uh, the beads, turning the beads, and they are looking somewhere else, they're talking somewhere else, doing something else. The hand is moving, but that is not japa yoga. That is one practice. Then you have karma yoga, and you have japa yoga, you have bhakti yoga. These are all ritualistic means which you have to follow. And then even raj yoga, doing asanas, you know yama niyama, all the practices of yama niyama asana, um, you know pratyahar, dharana, dhyan, samadhi, all these eight ashtanga yoga practices, all these are practices, these are all ritualistic practices one has to follow. And pranayam, for example, is one practice that is done daily along with the yogic physical practices, which is also a ritualistic practice to regulate the breath. to regulate the cosmic forces that are traversing the body along with the physical body. And then Jnana Yoga as well, when one is asked to do investigation, self investigation. That's also a ritualistic practice of trying to investigate into the self. All these, every single thing that is being spoken about so far is limited to the mind, limited to the individual as a doer. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 12, Lord Krishna talks about this particular thing where it says that rituals are good to start off with. It's very good. But better than rituals is doing uh, the practice regularly and with devotion and love. Better than doing it with love and devotion is gaining the knowledge and the understanding of the practices. And then he says, better than the knowledge and the understanding is meditating upon it. So, listening to the things and uh, cogitating upon it is one thing, but then meditating upon it is the third stage. Much better than knowledge and understanding is meditating upon it. And better than meditating is renunciation, complete and total renunciation of the very idea that I am doing it. So this is the process that has to be is followed to reach what? Not to reach anywhere, to reach what we already are, just to divest of what we are not. That is the idea of this entire spiritual practice. We come to the ritualistic practice, and then it 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 sort of seamlessly merges into spiritual practice, where then rituals don't play a very important part. It becomes so seamless, the practice, that this very ego that considers itself as me doing this ritual starts dropping away. When that starts happening, that is the start of real spiritual practice, where the I is being vanquished. Then one becomes consciously aware of that state that one already is. So, this spiritual practices are many, and the start of those practices are also ritualistic. There is no doubt about it. All spiritual practices in nature initially are by them in themselves are ritualistic. But then one automatically drops it, they go away to become very ritualistic as the idea that I am this body and mind and intellect starts fading away. It is uh, both of them go simultaneously, and this practice that is there And the spiritual practices that are enumerated in all scriptures are the most important thing for one's growth, because ultimately, as mentioned earlier, one is not born to eat, drink, sleep, be merry, procreate, and then the body goes away. There is something much higher. Why are we jumping around, up and down in happiness and sorrow and good
मेरी मीटिंग
and
चल रही है.
bad and uh,
Gokran.
ईश्वर जी, आप जरा म्यूट पे डालेंगे प्लीज, इफ यू डोंट माइंड. We're jumping, the mind keep jumping from one to the other. If we are, if instead of doing that, and if one is happy with doing that, that's fine. There's no issues with that. One can continue throughout life, you know going through the yo-yo of life and swinging like the pendulum of in the pendulum of life. And then one passes away, die, the body falls away, and then the consequences of the karmic effects take place. And then, as Anilji mentioned about, going through that phase, and then again one has to relive the debts of what one has sown. The seeds that one has sown have to be paid for as prarabdha. The prarabdha karmas come into one's life when the body is formed. There is no two ways about it. And we see that circumstances present themselves in front of us, to which we have to act. And that action that is there, if it is done as a response rather than a reaction, the reaction causes another impulse to be formed, and that impulse goes around and comes back as prarabdha karma. Rather than doing that, why not respond to it in a detached and absolutely witness, like a witness, and let things happen as they happen. Do things, let things just happen. One is not adding more and more fuel to that karmic process. One has to be have that firmly in the mind to start off with as a doer, before the practices really start with earnest fervor. And once the practices are done with intensity, with with tremendous determination, then things just flow, because the the spiritual practices are only a tool. One has to understand that the individual as a doer is also that supreme reality in 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 essence. That is the truth, because that ultimate, which is all in all, that pure awareness, pure consciousness, cannot be complete unless it encompasses everything. And that everything includes this manifestation and all of us. It's not apart from us. We are that very same thing. Just that we don't realize it right now, because there's a huge covering. They call it the avarana, that they call it the veil of ignorance, which veil of ignorance, which is covering. the truth. That has to be that has to be transcended. And the only way one can do it is not by adding anything. All spiritual practices are not to add anything. There is nothing to add. The only thing one has to do is to divest, remove what is not required. Please keep that firmly in mind. There is nothing to achieve, there is nothing to attain, because the word attain means that is not complete. It cannot be not complete. It is complete. It is total. It is pure. It's a it's absolute awareness, absolute consciousness. It is absolutely complete, changeless. So within the changing, that comprehension cannot be got because it is limited. As the limited, one cannot perceive the limitless, though one is already the limitless because of all this covering. Once all this paraphernalia is removed, the revelation of that truth automatically has to happen. But for that, the ritualistic practice of spirituality is a process that one has to follow, not to gain anything, but just to remove false notions. Ultimately, it's only a notion that I am not, I am this body, I am this mind, I am this intellect. It's only a notion. And the funny part is that even the word notion itself has the truth as a seed within that. If you look at the word notion, Notion, in the middle that is a I is there. If you look from this side, it is Not, not I. And from this side, it is no I. There is no I. This I is only a false notion. The word notion in itself has that seed in it saying, not I, no I. There is no I. This I business we say from childhood to the time the body falls away is only a notion. Try and find that I. Look for it. Try to pinpoint the I. That is the ultimate practice that one has to do to realize that there never was any I. It is only a cosmic, huge cosmic joke that one has to go through. But this is this is how the process is. One has to realize and no one can teach one that. There can only be a pointer. All spiritual practices, all rituals and spiritual practices are only pointers. There is a beautiful book by somebody called Wei Wu Vi, as in Weiwei, Wei Wu Wei or something. And he's written the book called Fingers Pointing to the Moon. So when the fingers are pointing to the moon, the idea is to look at the moon, right? The finger is only an instrument to point towards it. Would anyone look only at the finger? No, they won't. The finger is only an indication, is only a tool to indicate. One will be looking at the moon itself. That is the truth. It only points. All these practices, all these methods, all these rituals are only pointers leading to that ultimate truth. One has to very strongly, with complete determination and complete commitment, use every iota of strength in every cell of one's body to strive to remove what is not, to reveal what is. That is what we call as spiritual practice. In simple terms, otherwise, one can go through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of practices because the mind loves it. Mind absolutely loves reveling in this and that. So many questions come up. Ultimately, those questions are only for the mind to satisfy the mind. The mind feels happy. Ah, I've got this answer. Immediately, another question arises. The questions are endless. Answers will never lead to any revelation because everything that is happening in the mind itself. Only when that very mind is dropped, which drops by itself, one doesn't need to do anything because mind is only a collection of what? Thoughts. The I, the false notion that I am doing this, the doership. The doership has to drop. Then after that, the functioning goes on. Like Ramana Maharshi, Bhagwan Raman Maharshi continued living in that body continued living for 40 years after that, more than 40 years, before the body dropped away. When somebody asked him, "Why are you leaving us?" He said, "Where am I going? I'm going nowhere. I'm here, I'm everywhere. I'm ever existing." That is the highest state. Let us all s- work with tremendous effort. That has to be the sankalpa. That has to be the strong determination that one, each keen aspirant on this spiritual path has to have to be able to reveal for himself or herself that I am not this him or her. I am that absolute, pure, absolute, total consciousness, ever existing, ever real. Sat Chit Ananda, pure consciousness, pure existence, pure consciousness, pure bliss. So let us all make a strong resolve here and now to strive on the spiritual path, to reveal truth as is. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Vijayji. That was a very powerful, spiritual discourse on rituals. What Vijayji said in the end is actually very beautiful, and you see, that is the truth. If you face your own nature, you see, which is actually none other than this pure consciousness, then the journey basically comes to an end, because you've actually got to realize that, you see, consciousness itself, that pure consciousness itself, is appearing disguised as every ritual, right? When Vijayji was speaking, it was so absorbing. A communication came to me, which is very interesting. That when we finish this discussion, just do a simple exercise. Go and stand in front of the mirror, right? Look at yourself, and then reflect on this. That, are you actually the ritual, or are you the space in which this ritual appears? And you will get your answer. Try this out. Okay, Vijayji, thank you very much. Actually, it was very, very beautiful. Actually, what you actually presented. So more of that to come this year. With that, we'll just throw the floor open, and you're welcome to put in any of your queries, anything that you want to actually express. I'll ask actually Prashant ji from Singapore to first put his views forward. Prashant ji, are you there? Everyone can unmute, please.
Yes.
Yes, Prashant ji.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Anilji and Vijayji. That was a very insightful discussion, a satsang. Uh, I think it clarified that in the end, whichever path you take, as long as you continue the practice, which could be termed as ritual, but as long as it is done with full devotion, with full love, with in my own mind, I differentiate just technically between ritual and practice as the one where you do it mechanically versus the other where you're aspiring to improve your own score. So, for example, when you do a practice, whether it is meditation or whether it is running or physical fitness or badminton, you play to improve your own performance. So, as long as there is that desire to saying, I want to continue to strive to know what is the real truth, uh, you will eventually arrive. And that happens, as I realize, with grace. So, what is in your hand is only this practice and ritual. Do that well, do that with your heart, and then the rest will follow. Thank you.
Yeah. Very beautifully said. But if you're the space in which the ritual appears, there's no need for any practice at all, isn't it? But you have to make your way towards it. Vijay, you want to say something?
No, no, it was well said by Prashantji.
Mm.
It was good, uh, and that's why I mentioned about when a ritual is done in secular life, it's done without any devotion and love, and you just do it as a practice, like eating and drinking and having lunch, dinner, and all that. But when you're doing these spiritual practices, if it is done, the ritualistic practice is done with that love and devotion, like as in when you see when you have an idol in front of you or a photograph of your guru or whatever, it is done with that bhav, that love. I mean, the translation of bhav is not very easily translatable in English. It is, with the, but with that tremendous amount of love and faith in that idol, that then translates into growth on the spiritual path automatically. So what Prashantji said was very right. Thank you.
Mm. Okay. Is Anoopji, are you there from Sydney? Can you hear me, Anoopji? Okay. What about you, Sudhirji? Are you there?
Yes, Anilji. Thank you. Thank you very much
Okay.
for inviting
All
me.
right. Yes, Sudhirji. Okay. Yeah.
And very, very well explained by Vijayji. I always have this question. What's the difference between Sankalpa and Vairagya? I just get confused. Can you simply explain it, please?
Yes, Vijayji, would you like to answer that?
So Sudhirji, the word sankalpa is basically just an idea in the mind that one I want to get to that goal and that needs to be done. It's more on a spiritual perspective, something that is a virtuous thing. Having a goal can be any goal, but sankalpa is typically used in the terminology where it is a virtuous thing on the spiritual path or towards achieving something good from the perspective of spiritual growth, and having a kind of a goal in mind. I have that sankalpa of doing this. I will do an repetition of the name of the Lord so many times. That is a sankalpa, and you'll keep doing that, on a thing. It's just a practice. It's a ritualistic thing, but it says that has to be done. But normally, when it is associated with a person who has achieved what they call as achieve the goal of life, as in he's a self-realized soul or a god realized or whatever that terminology is, then that sankalpa of that person is termed as eventuating there and then immediately. It happens to be done which can eventuate at a further time and space and time, but it has to happen. That is the connotation of the word sankalpa. When a person, a doer, an aspirant on the spiritual path has that sankalpa, he does that with devotion and love and faith, and does whatever has to be done to achieve that goal. He
Just,
has that
just a minute.
sankalpa. Whereas uh,
Can you leave
a
my
person
microphone
who's
on?
a
It's
guru
on
who
already.
has
Okay,
reached the
okay,
goal
that's fine.
will,
The
when
on
he
now?
has that sankalpa,
How you do
It
it?
has been on, Nanaji.
No, no, but how to go
Ishwarji,
to?
you need to mute. Vijayji is speaking. Yes, continue. Vijayji.
so uh, when the guru, who's somebody who has already reached the goal of life and knows his true nature, he or her, and when that sankalpa or that statement comes out, it has to eventuate. That is the difference between a person who's considers himself, who's still a doer, say has that sankalpa, and a sankalpa that's coming out from a self-realized or a person who's already realized his true nature. That's sankalpa. And then when you're talking about between the difference between sankalpa and vairagya, so that is sankalpa. Vairagya is basically detachment. So detachment, Sudhirji, is when you are not watching as a witness, basically all happenings in life. You're detached. Vairagya, uh, even the word vairagya comes to a stage where you have find yourself so removed from what's happening in the world that one then reaches a stage where one takes sannyas. In the earlier days, people used to have so much vairagya that they would go to a guru and say, I want to renounce the world. But one doesn't have to renounce the world if one has got tremendous vairagya or detachment. One doesn't need to, because just by wearing ochre robes does not necessarily mean that one is completely detached. One can be detached even while wearing normal functioning in society without any leaving your family and society. Ultimately the mind is still there wherever the mind goes. Whether it is in an ashram or whether it is in society, in normal society, one is the mind is still the same. One can go into a cave and sit down, but still the same mind is there in the cave. It makes no difference.
Yeah.
So using that itself, one, if one has that vairagya, that detachment, that renunciation, then what happens is the ego, the I, starts coming down because there's no association that I am the doer. When that starts going out, then slowly the mind thins out and thins out. When ultimately, when one drops into the jnana yoga mode where you are inquiring, who is this I? Who so far I've been saying I, who is this? When that questioning arises and goes deeper and deeper, one realizes that there is no such thing as I.
Mhm.
So that is the difference between sankalpa and vairagya.
The Sankalpa also does not come with attachment, isn't it?
Yeah, sankalpa is when you're doing it as a doer, you are still attached, but you're trying to get away from that attachment. You're still attached, whereas
Okay.
you're not yet detached. The sankalpa is still there. The very fact that you're saying sankalpa, who has the sankalpa?
Yeah.
Somebody
That,
has
that,
to have the sankalpa, right?
yes.
So he's not detached because he wants sankalpa for that body, mind, intellect.
Okay.
Whereas detachment is, I'm detached from this very notion that I am this body, this mind, this intellect.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's put it in two short sentences. Sankalpa is, yeah, we make New Year resolutions. They are all sankalpas.
Yeah.
So say Sudhirji makes a sankalpa that I'm going to attain freedom from attachment to images,
Mhm.
right? And then when Sudhirji attains freedom from images, that's Vairagya,
Okay.
simply
Yeah.
said.
Yeah. Very, very, very good.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Arvinda, do you want to talk about something? Are you there? Subha's brother?
Thank you, Vijay. Um,
Yeah, hello, how are you? Are you in Bangalore?
Bangalore, yes, Anilji. I'm in Bangalore,
Okay,
right?
all right. Yeah, you're making all those programs for the AIs, is it? Okay, yeah, please, yeah.
How can we thin out the mind um, and be consistent with it? I am able to see there is an I that wants to thin out this mind, and I'm also able to see this movement that's appearing in me. And what is the way for thinning out the mind?
Right. Yes, Vijay.
So Arvindji, the ways are many. There are plenty. Every action that is being done is a tool for thinning out the mind. When and one of the main methods or the crucible on which one can actually do uh, attain this thinning of the mind, as Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, was two methods. Is one is doing the sadhana and doing the practice of reading and assimilating and knowledge and meditation and all that, and the other is vairagya, renunciation. He said there are two methods of thinning the mind, and that is through sadhana of practice, and the second is vairagya. But there are, to do these practices, there are so many. You can read all the books to try and gain knowledge. You can then start doing all the possible practices you want. There are so many practices that one can do. But even in everyday life, every action, that from the time one gets up from the bed in the morning to the time the body falls asleep, one can have that sankalpa in the mind, that I have, that mind is going to be that same mind. The same mind has to be used, because that's the only way you can use that mind, because that's the only tool you have, the only instrument you have is that mind. It is like the thief acting as the policeman, as Raman Maharshi said. It is the thief which is acting like a policeman to police itself.
Yeah.
So that has to be done in the initial stages. There's no choice, because that's the only instrument one has. But when that is used, that mind will then slowly start thinning out. And then the only method, then finally, ultimately, when one does these practices for a long period of time, then automatically the mind starts moving inwards. And that same mind, which when it is going outwards, is engrossed within this world, creates the world of duality, causes the me and the other, and that's from where the mind arises. When that same mind is used to turn inwards, then that mind dissolves. And that's the when that inquiry starts, no one can, automatically it happens. One doesn't even have to force itself. It'll automatically happen when it becomes deeper and deeper, the understanding. And when that goes in, that quest for where does this I arise from starts automatically. And then when that search leads to there is no I. There is no I. And the revelation then dawns completely. Thank you. Hariom.
Yeah, that's very beautifully said. Let me also explain this in my terminology. Exactly. Listen very carefully to what Vijayji actually said in the end. See, first of all, the question is this, that you're actually saying that how to thin the mind. So basically, what you're saying is that there should be no mind, right? Thinning, basically, that's what it means. So, look at it from two perspectives. One, let us look at it clinically. You know that you've got a physical body. Okay, then you have got a astral body, the body of feelings, and then you have got this lower mental body, which is the mind, which is basically nothing but from where thoughts come, right? Now you see, beyond that basically is your body of intuition, the bodic body, from your elbow to where your hands are. Now where the body of intuition is, there is no mind there, isn't it? Arvinda, do you agree with me or not? Because you've gone beyond your physical, etheric, astral, and mental realms. You follow? So basically, when you function from your body of spirit or your body of intuition, automatically the mind is completely thinned out, right? But then the question which arises is that you are sitting here in the physical form. Now look at this very carefully. You see, even the greatest of sages, in order to express themselves, in order to put their writings, in order to answer queries, had to actually use the thoughts and the feelings, but at the purest level. So this suddenly this question actually becomes hypothetical from the nature's perspective, that you're trying to thin or escape from something from which you can't until you simply quit your physical, etheric, astral, and mental bodies, right? So now when we turn the mirror around, I mean, this is a 360 degrees mirror where your face is going to appear everywhere. Sorry for using that example, but this is actually true. You see, Ramana Maharishi never said that thoughts will not come to you. Look at it very carefully. Ramana Maharishi said, the thoughts will not disturb you. Big difference, in this understanding. And what he actually meant is, you see, when you are saying, I want to thin the mind, that means that there is a personality present wanting to do something. Right? So again, it becomes that ritual, 24 hours, the cycle of reincarnation, awake, dream, and sleep. And that's what I said. Listen to what carefully Ramana Maharishi said. Vijayji said towards the end, actually. You see, thinning means when the mind goes inward. It's got, three states. The mind also is poisonous, impure, and pure. These are the three levels actually of the mind. When you reach the purity or the sattvic aspect of that, that is actually when you realize, and that is what Sage Ramana had actually taught, and that is what Vijayji is actually saying, that you question who actually became the one who is actually questioning and who has become the mind. Somebody has to actually wear those disguises or the cloaks. So the thing is that if it is consciousness only at play, disguised as Arvinda and disguised as the mind, then you don't have to worry about this at all, actually. So what happens is that in the end, the question itself drops. You no longer, go running after it. When the question drops, that is basically when what you call is the mind thins. That's what that last part with Vijayji said. Really, you have got to, really focus actually upon that. All right. Okay. Aravinda, you want any further discussion on that, or that will do for now?
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. What about Subha?
Thank
Subha,
you.
are you there? Subhashriji. Is Subha there or has she left? Okay. All right. Is there anyone else? What about Chandji? Chandji, would you like to, you always like to, bring your views?
You're on mute. You're on mute, Chanji.
Yeah. Chandji, unmute yourself.
Yeah, I've done it.
Okay. All right.
I thought
Please.
Subhaji's come. She wanted to talk about it.
Oh, okay. Subhaji wants to talk. Okay. Let her talk and then we'll take yourself after that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Subhaji, okay. Have you unmute yourself first, Subhaji?
Hear me?
Yeah. Now we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll speak a little louder. So thank
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Satsang. I think it's a very relevant satsang for me, at least in this course in sadhana. So recently I've been noticing a shift. So always I have been having this sankalpa to constantly strive to do all the sattvic routines and spiritual practices. But somewhere I felt that bhava that he mentioned, that after some time got missing. So it was a wonderful reminder, because what happened is that rituals and the practices, I was doing it with all faith and shraddha, but somewhere there was a bit of monotonity that started setting in. And because of that, the mind started becoming more bored of it, and it kind of disconnected with it, all that I was experiencing in the past few weeks. And so I messaged Anilji about it. So, and it's quite relevant, this topic. So I felt as though this topic is calling me, and I joined today. So thank you so much for that reminder. And I could also sense that the more the observation becomes deepened, then the I that becomes more like ambitious in rituals, right? That is what is disconnecting me from that presence. So just observing that, so that I had taken over the doership of rituals, and so all that is being observed now. Yeah, it feels more relieving after the satsang. Yeah. And thank you, Anilji, for like there's this light, like he's the finger pointing to the moon, like that. So very wonderfully said. Like the space in which the ritual.
Suddenly your voice has gone. We've lost you. Okay. Vijayji, do you want to reply?
Thank you, Anilji.
So yeah, I think it's a good practice to have the the whenever any practice is being done, if it is done with the bhav that we are talking about, that keeps the mind focused. So initially, and when you're talking about Subhaji, when you're talking about, it becomes harder and harder because the mind starts playing tricks all the time. Initially, when the mind, there are three stages. One is the tamasic mind, then rajasic mind, and then the sattvic mind. So the when it is in the tamasic state, it's very easy to supper because your resolve is strong and you can transcend the tamasic aspects of it. When you're the rajas automatically goes away if one is practicing intensely with devotion and with faith, right? But then when that same thing progresses into the sattvic state and the mind becomes a more sattvic, then the mind starts playing its own tricks because that is more subtle. You see, the tricks are even more subtle because one cannot catch them easily because they then s- that uh, aspect of that the ego that I have achieved so much in life, that I'm such a good aspirant, on the spiritual path. I've done so much. All these things start arising, and one should be very careful and do continue with the practice with tremendous bhav and keeping the mind aware that I should not allow this to happen. It is till that stage, it is the thief who is acting like the policeman, but you have to be the policeman to try and keep it at bay. But then once it starts going inwards, then it's safe because then the tricks cannot be played, it's gone internally, and the duality aspect of it is pushed out. So till such time you have to be very, very careful. Hari Om. Thank you.
Yeah. So Subhaji, anyway, Vijayji has explained everything. There's an example which I actually use in this sometimes. Say there is a sheet of paper, right? And then you take another sheet of paper and you cut a lot of small pieces from that sheet. So what you do is that on your first sheet, you put some glue, right? Now, while the glue is actually wet, you can keep on sticking those small pieces of paper that you had cut and they will stick. But then actually what happens after some time, after about 20 minutes, the glue dries. No matter what you do, nothing will actually stick to it. You follow? So that's exactly what is happening. Initially in your spiritual practice, the glue is very wet. Things keep on sticking. And that's what actually Vijayji said. You've got to be very careful and you keep on practicing and you keep on practicing. And suddenly you see that glue within you or that attachment suddenly shifts to detachment and nothing can actually stick to you and you are suddenly free. Right? Okay. All right. Chanji, we'll go to you now.
Anji, I'm in the executive committee of the Shri Mandir here, and there are
Right.
every day there are rituals which are formed. So this topic is very fruitful because the rituals with spiritual practice is something which has bogged not only my mind but many other minds as well. And you're stating that awake state and sleep state are both cycle of reincarnation. It's also a ritual, which is a very good thing. And then Vijayji mentioned that from birth we do repetitive work. With rituals, with practice and meditation, knowledge and understanding, and then reincarnation, renunciation, leave the I. That's what's more important. Once we have that, I think what Vijayji mentions is the thief and policeman. The mind is a thief. There's no doubt about it. And your example of that sticky note with the glue is also very relevant, because this is what is happening. We've been practicing for years together on something which has been wrong, and now we have to unpractice that and come to the knowledge and understanding, and then renunciation of the I. We have, right from very beginning, from from the age of young age, we thought I have done that, I have achieved something, I have done that, and now we realize no, it's not I. It's done by the consciousness. So I think this topic was very relevant, and thank you, Anuji, thank you, Vijayji, thanks for the knowledge.
Thank you, Chanji. Thank you for attending. Vijayji, you want to say something on what Chanji has stated?
And Chanji was just paraphrasing what we discussed. He didn't have any query as such. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Samitaji, do you want to say something?
Yes, I would like to ask that,
Yeah.
see, as the water river flows from all the directions to merge into the sea,
Right.
and the mind is actually, trying to do that. And at what age should, what is the age, for the children or anybody for that matter, that how it is, how it can be changed at that age, that age, which is the age, right age?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that
So I
the
would like
query?
to ask Vijayji and you. Yeah, this is the query.
Yes. Vijayji?
Mitaji, it's a very relevant question in all families and all society, the entire society, where because one is concerned about what one can teach the kids. But Smitaji, more important than that is the importance of trying to practice and achieve, or not even attain or achieve, but to try and go on the spiritual path to reach that goal oneself. Before doing that, if we start talking about transmitting knowledge, and you have to transmit knowledge and understanding to the kids, expose them to all the spiritual practices. One doesn't need to uh, teach them that one has to do self inquiry and all that. There's no point in doing that. They're too young to understand that, because unless one is automatically like Jagat Guru Adi Shankaracharya, nobody had to teach him. At the age of 8, he automatically went into, he did it himself. If one is mature enough, automatically it happens. But if we arrogate ourselves with the fact that we are trying to teach something to the kids when we ourselves haven't reached that stage, it'll be insincere to the kid. We have to achieve that ourselves before we can then relate that to the kids. But we can start them on the relevance of that for the kids is, for the children is, you can teach them the ritualistic practices and the relevance of that ritualistic practices. The relevance of the ritualistic practice is very important, so that they understand what they're doing to be able to achieve further progress on the spiritual path. Read them some scriptures, teach them the Bhagavad Gita, and with the meaning and the commentary, teach them any other script. Not necessarily Bhagavad Gita, I just mentioned it. You can teach them any scripture that you are you relate to. It can be the Bible, it can be any other scripture. I'm not saying just, I just mentioned the Gita. So it's anything that is relatable to the kids, to give them that right direction on the spiritual path. You can do that. All ritualistic practices which are more spiritually oriented. If you can do that, that's good enough till then. Once that is done, then automatically they'll find their own path. But let that intensity of practice start with oneself. That is more important, Smitaji. This is a humble offering. That's it.
Yeah, very beautifully explained, Vijayji. You see, Samitaji, I'll give you an example. If you actually say want to grow a mango tree, then what do you do when you plant the seed in the soil? Then at that moment, that tree hasn't actually come up. It's got to come up as a small plant. So you need to give it the right soil, the right amount of sunshine, the right amount of water, the right amount of manure. You got to nurture it, isn't it? And it will actually then slowly then start growing. Once it grows into a plant, its roots actually spread, then it will grow of its own accord and eventually become a tree. So same is the story when we are talking about the growth of a child. You look at it from the age of, when the child is born till the age of 7, and this is clinical, your physical body is actually developing. Right? Then from the age of 7 till you're 14, your emotional body or the astral body actually comes into being. Then from the age of 14 till the age of 21, your mental body, the thought structure is actually built, and then basically from 21 to 28, your body of intuition actually develops. And from 28 to 35 is your atmic body actually developing, right? So this is, different people have said this in actually different terminologies. So when the child is actually young, we need to, just like that seedling, you have to nurture them. You follow? You give them the freedom. You don't force things actually upon them, because you see, every human being has come with a particular mental, astral, physical form, and they are going to follow their destiny, their way of thinking, their way of feeling, and their way of growing. That is why you see Steiner and Rishi Master Bensarduno were great exponents, including Michael Ivanov. They said that never force things upon these kids who are actually young. You nurture them to grow in their way. Where they go wrong, you just redirect them gently, right? So this is basically related to children. But as far as self-abidance goes, there are no rules, right? Because there is no time that the presence of consciousness is absent. Let's talk particularly in relation to human beings. So based on your entire karmic history, what we call as the storehouse of karma, or the prarabdha karma, you see, one of the things that I always, when I initiate the students, is I tell them that whatever you have destined for yourself in this life, whatever events they may be, including this event, including this query, you see, every event, everything that happens for you, what you have, destined for yourself, the thoughts, the feelings, the activity, is basically what do you need to grow spiritually. You follow? So the more that you advance towards what Vijayji had previously mentioned, the sattvic state of the mind, the pure actually thoughts and the pure actually feelings, the better actually you will be in harmony with yourself, and you will be better in harmony with others, and you will assist in actually guiding them, right? So I hope this sort of answers your query. Okay. All right. Binduji.
Anil ji, can I ask one
Yes.
question?
Yes,
Priya,
you are
sorry,
there.
I'm not.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not opening
It's
the
okay.
video because
Yeah,
So
that's all right.
my question is to both of you. See,
Yeah.
like Vijay ji said just now, that it is very easy to move from Rajasic to Sattvic mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you where I struggled, and I'm going to circulate this video to a few of my young spiritual aspirants. So where I struggled, and I want to see how to quicken that process or shorten the journey. So where I struggled was that when you reach the Sattvic point, which happened very quickly, you move from your Rasic to the Sattvic. The problem is that I kept certain concepts I nurtured certain concepts for 50 years of my life, right? Now what happened when you reach your Sattvic and this all thing happened, that awakening happened, right? Ultimately, I replaced my earlier concept with these higher concepts. They still became concepts.
Yeah.
Okay, they were still concepts.
Yeah.
For me to break those concepts was an arduous task. You know it very well. It was arduous. Because suddenly I started living with higher concepts and thinking this is enlightenment. You understand?
Yeah.
So, and it's taken me a lot of time to sort of break that higher concepts also to be, to be in that state. So my question to both of you is that how does one shorten this process? I mean, how does it? But ultimately, you have to transcend all higher and lower concepts. You understand? I mean, I don't know whether I'm being articulate in asking my question, but
I understand. Yeah.
So this is my question.
Okay. Yeah. Vijay
Priyaji, it's a common question that everyone has to
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's as I was mentioning to Subhaji as well, that at that stage, at the sattvic state, when the sattvic mind is playing its
yeah,
part, it
yeah.
is a very subtle and very cunning method of trying to. So one has to there the practices continue, but what happens is one has to be extremely aware and remain alert. The key word is being alert. That same mind only, because that's the only instrument you have. That same mind has to be used to be absolutely alert and aware of any transgression, because it'll make one feel uh, greater than one actually the achievement of what one considers one as achievement, because that's also a concept, you see. It has to be very, very, one has to be extremely alert and
Absolutely.
just let it flow past that thought that comes in of
Mm.
uh, you know s- patting oneself on the back or whatever
Right,
it may be, has to be just let go, just
right.
ignored,
Mm.
with tremendous alertness and awareness, and
Mm.
continue on that path
Right,
with uh, intensity and alertness. If that is
right,
done, the same
right,
practice, you don't have to do any other special practice for that, but that
right.
alertness has to be even more intense, more
Mm.
intense than at the tamasic and the rajasic state. But
Right.
the sattvic state, that intensity of alertness and awareness
Mm.
becomes even more important, very, very important. Then
Absolutely.
when that
Mm.
happens,
Mm.
then the thinning, or as we call it, the thinning of the mind automatically starts happening
Mm.
faster and faster. And when that happens, then one doesn't need to do anything to turn inwards, it automatically turns inward.
Correct,
So
correct.
then it, one can
Yeah. Thank you.
be self-assured.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll add to that. What Vijay ji has said is actually very correct. But Sage Ribhu and the scriptures have said actually one thing, that the highest form of the spiritual practice is listening to someone who is already illuminated, right?
Hmm.
So if you are going to associate yourself with the teachings of sage Ramana or Gautam Buddha or Rishi Master Byansa or say Vijay ji, then you see basically they are only going to actually talk about the reality, and they will show you the way as well how to reach that reality. But
Right.
then you see, well, that is the shortest way of thinning. But the problem
Hmm.
is that Ramana Maharshi had also said that his methodologies are only for those who are very advanced. So if
Right.
if that characteristic or the attribute is not there within
Hmm.
you, you will not actually go in
Yeah.
that direction, right? But
Right.
this is the
Okay, I
shortest and
understand
the
this.
quickest way. And then and
Priyaji,
then 1 minute.
unmute it, please. Mute it, please, so we can all
Yeah.
listen to him properly. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, all right. Continuing. So basically, listening is actually good, but you see, they say you got to go one step further, and that is intuitive reflection. Reflection is good, you're using your mind actually on that, but you directly look at it just like this view appears in front of you intuitively. You intuitively reflect, you look upon that. Oh, Ramana Maharishi said that Sakshi Bhava, witnessing, basically just become an observer to actually everything, or surrender to the source, right? Now you see, you have to intuitively reflect upon that, and that intuitive reflection is the one which will actually bring you into abundance, right? It's very, very fine. what I've actually said, but that is really actually what it is. You see, in the end, this is basically what you've got to do. There isn't really any other means of really, becoming free from, attachment to images. Make sense?
Thank you so much, Anil. Thank you so much.
So that intuitive reflection that Anilji is talking about is that when the mind turns inwards, the moment that mind
Yeah.
turns inward, that's intuitive reflection, and that drops away the, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Binduji, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Or Bindu? Yes, Binduji.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir, taking
Yes.
me in.
Yes. Yes, please.
Sir, to this question of Priyaji, I'm only thinking that if we again take self will or free will and destiny in account, then I think we are moving away from the line. So whenever it has to happen, it will happen. I guess so. And the second thing I want to share is that आपने बोला शीशे के सामने stand in front of the mirror, and I did it. And for 1 second, I felt the body, and then I started telling myself, and then I felt myself mixing into the space. It was a beautiful, vast experience. Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah.
मैंने उसी टाइम किया जाके. I did the same thing.
Okay. All right.
It was
Fair
very
enough.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all. Thank you so much.
Vijayji, you want to just answer the first query about the effort?
The effort, if one is meant to do and not wanting to put in the effort, that's fine. There's no issues. It's if one feels that the destiny, it's only a concept, but the destiny is it whatever has to be destined will happen, and one doesn't need to put in any practice as well. Who can stop one? No, there's no need to put in a. But
It's not that, sir. It's not that.
then
I'm only just that because okay, I get what you're saying.
no, Binduji, just say complete the statement. No problems.
No, because I always felt that if we are, I have come to that level that whatever जैसे आपने पूरा reincarnation का भी बोला that we have to face everything with a very neutral this thing, no reaction type.
Yes.
So we pass it on
Yes.
easily.
Yes.
So वो फिर वो एक बात तो destiny हो गई ना kind of.
But destiny is Binduji. The destiny means what comes into your life as in the form of circumstances. What you make of the circumstances that come in front of you.
But are we capable of doing that? We are not capable of even moving a leaf.
But you are functioning every moment of your life. You're doing every day. You're eating. You're doing
eating,
that.
yes.
So you're even so. Whenever any circumstance comes to into your life, you are actioning it, right? For everything, you are actioning it. One may consider that I am doing it, or one may do it without any notion of the I.
With
If there's no
detachment.
doership, if there's complete detachment and there's no doership, then there's nothing more to do anyway.
Yeah, correct.
There's nothing more to do. But if one is doing it with a doership aspect and functioning with either a response or with a reaction to every circumstance that comes in, then that will have an equal and opposite reaction, and that will lead to the karmic circle of life. But if one is beyond that, then if one is already not a doer, there is no doership, then there's the question doesn't arise, Binduji.
Yeah, like Smitaji also asked, what is the right age to start? Because we also feel we have children who are above 25 and they are struggling in their jobs and everything. So if they thin their minds, how would they work and how would they face the world, which is full of mind? That is a very
It
good
still
question.
works, Binduji, but nothing. The working can still be done. No one is stopping anyone from doing any work. It is only the question of continuing to do the work, but keeping oneself disengaged from the fruits of the action. In the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 2, Krishna has said that you have to do the work yourself. The work has to be done, but you cannot hanker after the fruit of the work. You have to do it with dispassion.
Got
He has
it.
said, Karmanyavadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phal heturbhur mate sangestu karmani. So you don't get engaged and don't hanker after the fruits of the actions that you do. The actions have to be done. You are doing actions anyway. It's only the hankering that is a problem. Let whatever the fruits come. That is beyond your control anyway. But
Ji.
the action is in your hand. You are doing the action yourself. As a doer, you are doing the action. The same with
Correct.
the kids, 25 or 30 or whatever age, Binduji. The person, the human being is going to function and has to do the work. But if that trying to do it with a bhav that I am, you know, I'm not going to get involved with too much involved with the response to the fruit of what I have done. That is good. That is very, very good. You have to have goals in life. Having a goal or a sankalpa, whatever that you call it, everyone is having a sankalpa in life. As one is a doer, as long as one is a doer. But hankering after the fruits of every action that one is doing to reach that goal is actually going to prevent you from functioning at peak performance. Because
So if we tell them that, sorry.
because whenever one is doing an action, and for the kids it's very important that one is functioning, performing an action, and if every action has to have a reaction, if one is performing and to giving it one's 100% to that action, then the result will be 100%. But if one is giving while doing the work, one is worried about the future and what will happen as a reaction, as a result of what I'm doing. When a child is or a student is writing exams and thinking about what the result will be when he is doing the writing, his attention to the question is going to be 70-80%, not 100%. So when it is 70-80%, how can the outcome be 100%? When one gives 100% to that at that point in time, the result is more likely to be 100% than when one worries about the thing and gets one's mind dissipated into what the result will be. It's not going to help. The efficiency is gone. So that itself, even in secular life, it is helpful to be detached from the results of the action.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Hari Om.
Let me also answer a little bit more twofold. I understand Vijay ji has actually explained this very beautifully. Look, nothing can actually be done without effort. Simple thing. Let me give you two examples. Say there is a plate in front of you. There are two samosas and three pakoras. Okay. And then you've got mint sauce as well. Now, simply by imagining that I'm actually eating them and they're very tasty and I've digested the food, doesn't happen, isn't it? You got to pick it up, put it in your mouth, chew, and then only it will go, right? Now, when you go to take a bath, simply by thinking, oh, I'm having a beautiful bath, I'm wearing these beautiful clothes, you're only creating mental pictures and emotions. You actually have to put the shower on, you got to take a bath, you got to do the shampooing or whatever, right? So now I'm quoting from Rishi Master Byansa Duno and Ramna Maharishi, right? Ramna Maharishi said, and so did Rishi Master Byansa Duno, that no one, he said this about himself actually when he was asked. He said, I didn't attain this state of illumination just like that in this life. He said that he had worked for many lives to have actually achieved that, right? So no one actually attains illumination or freedom from images without making an effort. First thing. Now, the second thing, what you're actually talking about related to, the kids, you got to look at one thing very carefully, Binduji. When you go to see a cinema, somebody has directed that movie, somebody has produced it, someone has written a story on it, there are some actors who are actually playing it. You can't do anything other than observe. The script is already pre-written. But what actually you don't understand is when you start from your upper mental body, then you create your lower mental body, your astral body, and your physical body. You have already written the script of this life for yourself. You are simply an actor going through that script. It is actually going to play out. Ramana Maharshi said the ordainer has already ordained. What is to be will be. You can make 100% effort. If it is not going to happen, it's not going to happen. So the best thing is to keep quiet. You follow? And actually, we are actually an observer to our own ritual. That's why that exercise, go and stand in front of the mirror. Are you the ritual or are you the space in which the ritual appears? So what happens is when your thinking becomes so pure, and when people come in your aura, whether it is your son or it is your husband or it is a distant friend, from your aura that beauty, that purity emanates. You understand? And when that actually emanates, that has an impact on others. So this is really the totality of what you're actually trying to put forward, and that's what Vijayji was explaining. Okay,
Just one
all right.
sentence about what
Yes, Vijayji.
Nisargadatta Maharaj said. He said that
Yes.
tremendous effort has to be put in. Tremendous effort has to be put in to ultimately realize that there was never any effort required to be put in the first place.
That's beautiful.
That's the only way one can achieve.
You see, look at it, that sums up everything actually, isn't it? To know that you don't need to put an effort, you need to put the effort in.
My question looks stupid now.
No, nothing is actually stupid because everything at its place is actually correct. You follow? It's only the degree of understanding and the depth to which we are actually, moving forward with the events and our actions, our thoughts and feelings. That is all actually, you see. Okay, now Vrindaji, are you still there?
Sir, just one more minute I need.
Yeah. Yes, Vinay, please.
I'm only thinking then whatever is written, we should not make an effort for that also. Like you're talking of children or anybody.
No, you have to.
Whatever is written for them.
Binduji, you have to do whatever has to be done. Continue with the same.
Got it.
There's no question of relinquishing your duties. Duties have to be done. No doubt about it.
Okay, sir.
You see, if Vijayji is now illuminated, that it doesn't mean that he is not helping others. That doesn't mean he doesn't go to work. That doesn't mean he doesn't eat. That doesn't mean he doesn't look after his wife and his family. Same thing is with Anilji. Same thing was with Ramana Maharishi. So we have to continue with our actions. You see, irrespective of whatever it is, just the level at which those actions are actually carried out shifts from your lower nature to your higher pure nature. That is all. You follow?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
You just, what we call is, you just go with the flow and you do things as required, that the inner struggle has actually now gone. That's what it is, nothing else, right?
Thank you,
okay. Vrindaji, do you want to, are you still there? Or Vrindaji is gone? So yes, okay, Vrindaji is actually not there. So I think that we have covered quite a lot today. So we will have our next meeting in April because next 5 weeks I'm traveling in India, giving talks and lectures and whatever, and I'll meet some of you, while there. So once again, Rajivji, can you please stay on after we have closed the recording? Just want to discuss one or two things with you. Okay, with that, look, I thank all of you for having given your time and participated. Hope that like every time when we have these discussions, it has added some knowledge, in your own spiritual journey. That is the only purpose why these satsangs are actually held. And that is what the masters, Sage Ramana, basically has always wanted, at least from my end, to be done, and I'm trying to do that to the best of the possibility. Pranam, and thank you to all of you for attending.